All right. Well, welcome everyone to Belonging Badge Bingo, a journey of identity and inclusion. We're so excited to bring this to you all. If some of you have been to a Culture Amp or a Culture First gathering in person, many of you have seen these belonging badges IRL wearing on lanyards and t-shirts and sweatshirts. And we're really excited to bring this to you all as a great way to keep the belonging going, even virtually. So my name is Jessie Jacob. I am the Senior Community Manager for our Culture First Global Chapters program, working at Culture Amp. We now have over 100 global chapters with 150 plus volunteer chapter leads. Many of them are here with us today. And you all are a part of 12,000 community members on a mission to create a better world of work. And we're doing it, y'all. Joined here today with Peter Siren. So excited. I think we need to change your headshot to be this. So excited that you're collaborating with us, Peter, and excited for you to introduce yourself more here in a little bit, but really grateful that you're here with us today.
Of course.
We always say there are 5 core components to every Culture First gathering. You know, many people go to our events and they're like, what makes these so special? And we say, this is the secret sauce. These are the 5 core components: the welcome, the connection, the work, the action, and the close. If you add these 5 core components to any meeting or experience you're hosting with your teams, guarantee it's going to be a great gathering. So we'll talk about the purpose of today and our belonging badge, like almost explainer. What are these? We'll have a chance to connect with one another. We will come up with our own belonging badges, and we'll have a chance to do the work internally with self-reflection, but also in breakout rooms with one another. What learnings can you put into action? And then checking out with a sense of resolve. So today's purpose is to create a sense of belonging amongst our Culture First community and share a fun, practical, and inclusive exercise that you all can go back and use with your teams on our mission to create a better world of work. If you're new to the community, what is the Culture First community? We're a group of people around the world united in the shared belief that a better world of work is possible. And by golly, we're willing to do something about it. I actually just went on a spiritual retreat last weekend, and there was a woman who runs a nonprofit. I live in Kansas City. And she's in her 80s. She's still like planning these giant fundraisers. And I was telling her about all the conversations that we're having at work. And she's like, I want to go back to be like in my 30s and 40s. This is like so cool that we're like making progress and all of this stuff is about to like happen. And I think I needed to hear that, because sometimes all of us, we're in the weeds, we're in the trenches, and we're like, gosh, I can't believe we're still talking about why we need D&I efforts. And it's helpful to hear someone outside that's not in our industry to be like, whoa, you all are doing cool stuff and talking about important things. So community at Culture Amp is defined as where people, leaders, and change agents like yourself come together. We're inspired by our peers, and we share best practices to create a better world of work. We have 5 core principles that hold all of us together. So we ask that you embody these today. We're certainly going to be there's going to be an opportunity to lean into these principles, especially with Belonging Badge Bingo. So fostering belonging and acceptance, just letting people be seen, valued, and appreciated for just showing up and being themselves today. We ask that you have the willingness to reflect and grow, turn the mirror around and say, what can I do? How can I show up and create a better world of work? Have the courage to be vulnerable, be willing to just share whatever that is, playing with the edge of what vulnerability means for you. And it creates more permission for others to be more vulnerable and creates more psychological and safety and trust for us. We'll talk about how to put our learnings into action. So what we can do to apply what we've learned here into our lives or our daily work. And then connection inside, business outside, fancy way of saying in the context of this gathering, let's connect first as humans. And if that leads to people doing business outside, that's awesome. But at no point do we want anyone to be pitching or selling at this gathering. All right. Community happens in a lot of different ways. Obviously, this is the chapters program. You can join our digital Slack community. Culture First Global's back on May 14th or 15th, depending which on region you're in, with Esther Perel and Megan Rapinoe. We're really excited about that. You can check out our Culture First podcast and any of our Geek Ups or Culture First on tours around the world. All right. Peter, over to you, my friend. Thank you so much for joining our community today. Please introduce yourself. How did I continue rope you into this?
Yes. Oh my goodness. So let's do a brief history lesson and also let's flex that courage to be vulnerable value. I mean, here's me on screen, everybody. So and that is either Jesse's perfectly frozen or that is going to be the best screenshot ever. Anyway, point is, belonging badges was actually something that I came across roughly a year and a half ago. So I was onboarding into Culture Amp, my current place of work, and Culture First was one of the first things that I got exposed to. And I love everything about the community. I love the sense of vulnerability, belonging, all these wonderful things that we have. But needless to say, I didn't know what these fun little pins were that were showing up. And Jesse introduced them to me and gave me a nice history lesson. And we started kind of talking about what a belonging badge is. So for those of you who don't know, they're these phenomenal identifiers that you hold near and dear to you that you would consider. So on screen, you can see all of my various identifiers, which will definitely not fit on a Zoom background. um, in any case, I have loved this so much because I've got the opportunity to attend an in-person event, and I remember the amount of vulnerability and depth of conversation that goes beyond just the weather or surface level topics that was able to have. You run into folks, extroverts, introverts, all the like typical, you even get the political affiliations, right? But I remember the most vulnerable experience I ever had was a gentleman with the badge sober. And it was such a cool interaction when we talk about his sobriety journey, how he hit rock bottom, and just getting to see somebody on such a human level is such a beautiful thing. So I will ask you to go to the next slide, actually, because I would love to talk a little bit about the benefits of DEI and B. So when we were trying to foster, inclusion within a workforce, right, I'm just going to call it out. We're tribals, right? Like at the end of the day, the brain has not evolved as fast with our modern times. So when I have the liking principle there as kind of our first bullet point, when I call us tribals, I mean like we often want to belong in the tribe. We want to feel safe, right? Like we still think the saber-toothed tiger is out there to get us, even though our saber-toothed tiger, in the modern world, for the most part, of course, is traffic, so on and so forth. And in some cases that I'm about to talk about, perhaps uninclusive work environments. So the liking principle is really us trying to feel like we belong, that we're part of it, that, if others like us, they're more willing to do business with us, they're more willing to connect, they're more willing to collaborate in a work culture. So what I really love talking about, like belonging badges, for example, is like our emotional brain is like 95% of our thinking. Our rational brain is this little itty bitty thing that we really need to engage to make good decisions. So belonging badges pretty much help you identify and quickly build rapport with others. But on the other end of what I'm about to say is, even if you look at my screen there, right, and you don't identify with a single belonging badge that's there in the background, you still know exactly what you're working with. So that's probably the second best thing that you can do. If you can't relate to me, at least you know in an unconscious level who you're working with. And I wrote down a little brief snippet there at the bottom about how uncertainty causes that certain level of stress. It's kind of akin to anger and fear. So if you can imagine if that kind of uncertainty is in a work culture and environment, you're not really fostering the best type of work environment. So the last thing I'll talk about, and I actually forgot to finish this bullet, but the ultimate goal is to promote a amazing work culture, a great place where we all feel included, regardless of your belonging and background, right? We talk about terms like intersectionality. In today's workforce, I think it's so important. I think there's stats out there that show we're like one of the most diverse workforce, today, especially like millennials taking over um, the working environment. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like my experience as an Eastern European white male gonna look a lot different than a BIPOC female, gonna look a lot different than a Pan-Pacific Islander. We show up with all these different histories, belongings, and backgrounds. And especially when we don't feel like we belong with the majority demographic, typically white, we often filter our experience. So belonging, badges are a great way to kind of bridge that gap and say, hey, it's not just the surface that you're looking at. There's other deeper elements to me that make me a person. Um, I don't know if I used my 5 minutes, Jesse, so
Amazing. That was awesome. Thank you. Thank you for collaborating with us on
Mhm.
this again. And I just love that you've really taken such a cool thing that we use physically at our conferences and turned it into an amazing way to connect virtually with one another. So
Yeah,
I admire your taking the initiative for all
thank
of
you.
this. Okay. So wanting to get just like a little pulse check from you all, checking in. So we said the purpose. Now we're checking into our we're doing our connection phase of our gathering here. So wanting to just launch this poll and getting a test for there's no right or wrong answer to this. Like we're going to do a pre and a post poll here. Overall, I feel I belong in the culture first community. Just curious, where are you in this spectrum? We'll just take a few seconds. Awesome. Cool.
And we're
Thank
within
you
best
all.
practice metrics according to sample
Yes.
size.
Thank you for having the courage to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
All right. Another check-in prompt here. Let's just get a sense of like how are we doing today? If you were to give yourself one word to describe how you're feeling today, I want you to type it into the chat, but do not press enter yet. Okay. So one word to describe how you're feeling today. Enter it in the chat. Give me a thumbs up once you have it, and then we're all going to press enter together. All right. I see some thumbs up. Great. Fantastic. All right. Count of three. We're all going to press enter. Ready? 1, 2, 3, enter. Disillusioned, sleepy, disconnected, anxious, overload. Yeah. Thank you for this is amazing. We're doing the work here. Thank you for having the courage to be vulnerable, leaning in. We cannot be sunshine and rainbows all the time. Wow. The full spectrum of emotions here.
I just want to point out how just holding space here, the amount of tired people in HR, culture, people
Tired,
operation.
anxious,
Yeah.
drained, overwhelmed. Yeah. This is our first belonging badge that we would all be wearing for the
Perpetually tired.
day. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Okay, thank you. Look at us already just leaning into our belonging badges here. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna share a virtual bingo card, if you will, and I'm gonna set a timer for roughly 4 minutes. You'll just take some quiet time. You may not even need 4 minutes, but I'm going to set a timer, and you're going to fill out this bingo board for yourself. So your favorite badge, the badge I express without saying a word, the badge I'm most proud of to wear. You can go with gut reactions. You can make up your own badge, and then we'll go into small groups in a little bit here so that you'll be able to share those badges and why you chose them. So I'm going to give you a list of just some of the labels we use, and these definitely have evolved over time, and they continue to evolve. And again, wanting to make note of the blank badge, so the DIY badge, whatever you want to make up. So like we were joking earlier about how, Peter is a tri-citizen, and I was like, oh, that should totally be a belonging badge. I love that. So again, I'm going to set a timer for roughly 4 minutes, and then we will go into breakout rooms and have a chance to connect with one another. So I'm going to pull up my timer here. Also, if any of you host Zoom events fairly regularly, fun fact, you can add a timer. It's already built in the apps function. And so you'll see it now on my little screen here. But I'm going to pause. I'm going to mute myself. We'll all take a moment to create our badges, and then we'll get a chance to go into breakout rooms. ping me in the chat or come off mute if you have any questions, comments, or concerns so far. All right, we'll see you in a few. Just making a note here, you have about 1 minute left to finish filling out your bingo card.
Jesse, what does the second batch mean? Sorry, I didn't really get the badge I expressed without saying a word.
You said you don't understand, is that what you said?
Yeah.
So for instance, the badge I express without saying a word is like, what would be something that people just notice without you even really needing to say anything? So for instance,
Okay.
I
Got it.
wrote privileged for that one.
Okay.
It's like that would be my answer, my badge answer for that. Also, great to have you here, Nia. Love you,
Yeah.
love your work.
Thank you.
Imagine if that badge were tired.
Retired, is that what you said?
Yeah.
That's a funny one.
You got bags under your eyes all the time. You must be tired.
Oh my gosh, yeah. All right, I am gonna our timer is up here. So, of course, totally create your own badges to any of these. Also wanting to give a shout out to the person who created this bingo card. Her name is Jess Hudswell, and she works on the branding comms PR team here at Culture Amp, and she made this as an internal exercise for our team, and I'm just like so grateful for her. So wanting to give her a special shout out for making this creative. She's the creative genius behind making this. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we are gonna hop into breakout rooms of roughly 3 to 4 people, and we're gonna go through and share our badges with one another. So we'll go like kind of 1 through 6, We'll all answer one together. So everyone will, so say Peter, myself, and Nia are in a breakout room. And so we'll all answer our favorite badge and why. And then we'll all go to the badge I expressed without saying a word. And then we'll all answer. And let's see, Peter, what do you think? Take maybe, how about 17 minutes? How are we doing on time?
Sounds like I think we're actually really good on time.
Arbitrary
In
number.
fact, I would say we're ahead. I did also want to just quickly note that when we do go into these breakout rooms, to just really stress that vulnerability aspect, we're not going to be recording this. So feel free to go as you are comfortably vulnerable. Just when we go out, keep that in mind.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I think we can go around and do like a brief introduction of yourself, whatever. If you want to share where you work or what you do, that's fine. If you don't want to do that and don't feel comfortable with that, that's cool too. And also wanting to note that when you are in the breakout rooms, you won't be in the main session, so that won't be recorded. So that conversation stays in the breakout rooms. I'm just wanting to acknowledge that. So again, playing with your edge of vulnerability, wherever that is. And fantastic. Any questions before we open the rooms? Okay. Fantastic. Opening our breakout rooms. We will see you back here in 17 minutes. I always love to play that. Good
How
to
have you
see
been?
you. Oh,
Good.
so good. So good to see you.
Same.
For a catch up.
Yes.
Well, if I didn't get in trouble with copyright laws for having music when you all came back, I was gonna have the welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. If anyone's also a fan of that Mace song. Amazing.
You can sing.
Oh, thank you. I should add that as a belonging badge.
I
Oh,
I will not attempt to sing, but I will love to call out Winnie's comment from before the breakout room. So we actually do have a resource for everybody who will be interested in taking this to their own organizations or teams. Jesse will help coordinate that. I won't speak for you, Jesse, but yes, however that is. It is my first time hosting, so I don't know how these things work. But what I would love to launch into is a little bit of a group discussion for anybody who is willing to have that courage to be vulnerable, foster acceptance and belonging, to kind of talk about their experiences. And one of the first questions I pretty much want to address is, how did this experience make you feel? Right? Is anybody willing to come off mute here? Connected and chat too. That's also another great place as well. Ooh, I love these words.
Yeah, so in my breakout room, it was just really nice to hear such different perspectives. And some of the favorite badges that I heard from the people who joined in my group was balance, health, self-care. So really good reminders, and also very, very inclusive.
I love that.
ooh, balanced is a good one.
In my even though it was just two of us, it sort of helped get the conversation going. Like, it felt quite natural once we sort of ran through our six. It then developed into more conversational and talking about other aspects of, I guess, who we are and just getting to know each other, which was really nice.
Yeah.
So good. Thanks, Daniel.
And again, I'm just so smitten with these words and the amount of power that they have in terms of kind of what we're fostering here. And I'm loving this.
Ooh, I like
I would say that some of the badges make you feel a little vulnerable, like the ones like I don't know which was it. Like the badge for me anyway, the badge that expresses who I am without saying a word. That one was pretty vulnerable.
Mhm.
And, you know, there was some of them that were, you know, you had, if you were to be truly honest, you know, you had to do some stuff.
Yeah.
Totally. It's the being willing to reflect and grow, like turning the mirror around. I'm like, okay, how am I showing up? You know, what does this look like?
Yeah. Actually, I would love to segue off of that, right? So we're talking about just how we all felt, but like, what did you learn about yourselves, perhaps, in these conversations? Something I'll also point out is oftentimes after experiences or, you know, this kind of exercise, you change your own badges, right? You start mingling, you start seeing how you see yourself through others' eyes. So I'm curious, did anyone feel different about themselves or find something, learn something about themselves even? Then chat, come off mute. Would love to hear this.
I'm not sure if I would say I learned anything about myself. Well, I guess maybe, but I thought what was interesting is that everyone approaches this differently. And that everybody kind of comes with their badges like from a different angle, I guess. And so I felt like my group's badges were a lot more lighthearted and mine were a lot more, I wouldn't call them serious, but I'm a DEI specialist.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you ask me which, you know, what's a thing about me that people know without me saying anything, they just see it. I'm like, well, I'm a Black woman. Um, and so I feel like I came at it kind of differently, and
Yeah.
it made me think that this is something that definitely people should do multiple times in one sitting, because I think that other people make you think of different ways to think about yourself, which can be really fun to do.
Yeah. And actually, I would love to comment on your notes there, Gabby, right? Like, if you think about this, like even on an organizational or like a level like that, every culture has like a different level of what's acceptable, what's the social norm. And
Yeah.
exercises like this really help you kind of shake that up and break it and go, oh, Gabby's willing to be vulnerable. Well, maybe this time instead of just calling myself an extrovert, I'll say people pleaser in recovery. You know, oh, well, that just opened up something, right? And like having and like there's obviously we're gonna run out of time. There's no way to talk about it, but it's like helping be the champion in your own organizations to lead these types of conversations is very useful to start shifting to a more inclusive working environment. And I have some what not to take up too much space. I hate taking up space, but just wanted to share some ROI factoids. So I really want to arm everyone in this group to have conversations with other types of personas who maybe aren't necessarily willing to hear words like diversity, equity, inclusion, right? For some reason are polarizing words, but businesses that are more diverse, equitable, and inclusive lead to 25% more likely to experience above average profits. Wouldn't a CFO love to hear that? Are 35% more likely to outperform their competitors. CEOs trying to plan for that. And overall, just 39% greater customer satisfaction. Why? Because if we have different perspectives and different ways of approaching it, exactly like Gabby has been saying, we're opening ourselves to other markets and other ways to like actually tap into these types of conversations. All right, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to go back to maybe this is a good segue. Do you feel like belonging badges would help you create more belonging in your own organizations? Um, and how would you want to roll them out at your own organizations? Immediate 100%. Thank you, Katrina. Oh, yeah, we've got those resources. More smiling faces. Yes, amazing.
I feel like it really depends on the organization and what language they're used to having before. I mean, I'm a part of a really large organization, and I feel like there are different groups because it's so big that can have these conversations where I feel like it's a little bit too further down the road
Hmm.
to bring it up with some that aren't sort of in that mature space of talking about these things, right? Where they think just having a speaker or a book group is leading towards DEI and don't really understand sort of the value behind it. So I think it can be really useful or really dangerous and vulnerable. And,
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree there. And I will comment. There was a prospect I was working with in the finance industry, and she was really struggling to like, have these types of conversations to that point. And I will use her words, it's a white man's playground. I'm just gonna call it out. So it's really funny when we have like all these things that are clearly very beneficial to cultures, but how do you present the information, to your point, Noel, to have it more digestible for folks that maybe aren't as mature or ready to hear this? So that's why I always try to coach people and say, you know, like what are common values or common things that people like? Nobody like, okay, let me frame it this way. Everyone wants to run an inclusive working environment. Everybody wants them to show up as their best selves to work every single day. So how do we get that core value, you know, talk like you basically tell a CEO or a CFO, do you want everyone to feel like they belong here? Do you want everyone to feel like they can be their best selves at work? Hopefully everyone says yes, and people are saying no to that question. Maybe you have to question something there. But I just thank you for your commentary, Noel.
Yeah, and I would just say, to add on to what you're saying, even asking those questions, some people think they are and truly just aren't, maybe to that self-awareness point, to understand the difference of what's being asked versus what they're doing. And I think that's where the challenge is kind of trying to push somebody further on the journey than they are, because they're in a leadership position, and that's much harder, right?
Yeah.
To kind of be like, this is what I'm saying, right? Without it feeling like that person's being attacked. So it's just, it's more that like slow moves, I guess, baby steps.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add to, as someone who does DEI in the corporate world, I think that this particular activity could be framed in a way that wouldn't even necessarily align itself with DEI, if that makes sense. At least not obviously so. And the advice that I always give to anybody who's just kind of embarking on DEI and they're like, well, what if there's one thing that you would do or that I could do to help get us there, what is it? And my answer is always do exercises and work with your employees and your leadership team that help build empathy.
Yeah.
And I think that this is one of those things that could really work for that. Because if you can get people to start thinking more empathetically about their peers and about the people who work under them, that's like a really good first step to then get them to start thinking about like inclusion and diversity, because then you're like, okay, now you really care. Let me show you how you can care in a way that's more productive, right? Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. Again, I really think words have power. Love, yeah. Empathy.
And I think that this could really be used in the employee resource groups, so that it could start in the resource groups, and then from those groups it can then spread to the company. We have a 40,000 person company, and I can see our, you know, our women's group, our veterans group, our neurodiverse group, all of them doing something like this, and it really being beneficial, and then seeing how that can take over, if you will, in a good way.
Yeah, I love that idea. Thank you, Bridget. Really practical way to implement this in your organizations, even if it's not even your immediate team. I also think you can make these your own too. Peter and I were having a conversation in the chat. I was like, the badge that irks me the most. And then I was like, that would be the prompt that I would create, you know? So you can even come up with the bingo cards themselves too. And maybe there's some that are more applicable to like your work environment or your team. So that's another way to think about using this as well.
I think if I may jump in here as well, I think there's potential to use this to encourage kind of collaboration and playing to strengths among teams as well. Like, what do I want people to come to me for? What's my superpower? Like, what do I totally rock at that you maybe wouldn't expect from me? And if you can pop into a meeting and you're like, oh gosh, I know that you are like great at XYZ. Actually, I'm working on something like that right now. Let's talk. I think there's awesome potential there.
Ooh, that's a great one. I love that. Thanks for sharing, Kaden.
Yeah.
I also like that you have your disc in your name.
That was my badge that I would invent. I want it like a little sim diamond above my head everywhere I go. I just want people to know my disc style.
That's awesome. All right. Well, why do you yeah, please, Toya, go. Yeah.
I was just going to say something we're thinking about doing is incorporating the badges into the sort of icebreaker welcome opportunities at a big team meeting. So it's a way to have DEI there without having a formal DE&I presentation at every meeting. But if you're able to sort of get that into the practice of your company, that whenever there is like an offsite where everyone's coming in, whether it's globally or just from the US, but that's part of what we do as we start the meeting is you get your badges, you can put them on your backpack, your lanyards, and then throughout the day, have opportunities to visit and learn more about your peers from a DEI perspective without actually saying we're having a DE&I program or training, right?
Love that. Thank you. Yes, it's so I love what you and Gabby are saying, which is basically just like everything is done through the lens of DE&I. You just don't need to like specifically state that you're doing that, because I feel like a lot of organizations still have this like approach to it, or like they get nervous about it. And to your point, it's like, yeah, how do we just like integrate more empathy into our organization? Okay, Neo, you're the last one, and then I want to wind us down since we have 3 minutes. Go off, Queen.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, I think, yeah, some very interesting and good ideas here. First of all, I'm sorry I'm not on video. It's already like really late at night here. So I think what I'm really thinking about right now is one of the reasons, especially in culture first communities, this kind of an exercise or activity is actually very successful is because all of us come from certain backgrounds. We already have experience with, how to create a safe space, what a safe space means. But most of the people in organizations that will struggle with, how do we actually do this kind of an activity? How do we offer that kind of safe space where we can talk about a sensitive topic and, make everyone feel welcome and accepted? So to me, I think, yes, we can do these activities in a playful way, not talking about DEI, but at the same time, how do we balance it by ensuring that people who participate feel trusted, feel accepted? Yeah, that's something which we need to probably think about.
Oh, thanks, Nia. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. All right, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So if you all would just amuse me in answering the last poll question of rating your sense of belonging to the Culture First community now, let's see what happens. And then we'll do one last little checkout here, and we'll make sure to send you a recording to this, as well as the resources, so you can use this with your own teams or organizations or ERGs. Or I don't know, maybe you go on a date and you do this with someone. I'm just thinking about the most obscure random ways to do this now at this point. Oh, this is cool. Thank you all. We have certainly increased our level of belonging with the community here. So thank you. Again, a few last announcements. Culture First Global is back on May 14th or 15th, depending which region you're in. So I hope you can join us for that with Esther Perel and Megan Rapino. If you're not already in our People Geek Slack community, highly would recommend you join us in there to keep the conversation going. And as our last checkout, let's do one last little chat bomb, if you will. So one last belonging badge to describe how you're feeling. Don't press enter. Give me the thumbs up when you have it. And then we will all press enter together. Hannah, thank you for sharing the link to Culture First Global. All right. Thumbs up if you have your one last belonging badge to describe how you're feeling. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3, enter. Fulfilled, connected, energized, optimistic, creative, passionate, curious, fulfilled. All right, I love it.
Way better than the beginning.
Yes. Well,
Melting face emoji.
melting face emoji. Natalia. I love you, Natalia. I've missed you, my friend. All right, this is a very culture first way. Obviously, you have a great tool that you can use with your organizations. Another way we like to end our meetings here at the Culture First community is with a clap out. So again, thank you for being here. Peter is going to count us to 3. He's going to go 1, 2, 3, and then we're all going to clap, and then the Zoom meeting's just going to shut off, okay? So everyone come off mute for just a moment. Peter's going to go 1, 2, 3. We're all going to clap. Zoom meeting's going to shut off. Thank you all for being here. Cheers to co-creating a better world of work. Peter, count us to 3.
1, 2, 3.